We're going to now move to State Representative District 114. That's 114. We have incumbent Tom Kirby, and we have his opponent, Mr. Rod Upton. Gentlemen, you are going to be given 2 minutes each. You both have a microphone, do you not? Yes, you do. You're going to be given 2 minutes each for your introductions, and we're going to move into questions, a minute apiece, and so on and so forth. So, that being said, we'll begin with our incumbent, Representative Tom Kirby. 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you here in Monroe on this beautiful Saturday. I am Tom Kirby, running for re-election here in District 114. I am a conservative constitutionalist, and I stand very firmly on the visions our founding fathers had for this country. Less government, fiscal responsibility are two of the cornerstones. And when we talk about less government, that begins with smaller government being closer to you, be available and accessible to you, be responsive to your needs. When we talk about fiscal responsibility, we start off with talking about being held accountable and living up to our commitments. What you and I do every day when we pay our bills at home, as a state, we've got to do the same thing. That is why, as a state, we have a better credit rating than the United States does today. Because we have a balanced budget, we live up to our commitments. We've got to do a better job of prioritizing those commitments as well. Education's a big part of it. Fully funding QBE and making sure that we don't come back in the middle of the school year or the middle of their fiscal year and take money back, which has happened over the last several years. It happened last January, but prior to that. We've got to live up to our commitment to our children. A big responsibility of your state government is economic development. Bringing in Caterpillar and Baxter, two companies that are going to bring a lot of benefits here to Walton County and to District 114 was really important. Part of that was repealing the sales tax on energy for manufacturing, part of the tax reform bill that I was proud to be a part of in this last legislative session. As your representative, it's about you more than it is about me. I look forward to serving you and the people of District 114. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Mr. Rod Upton, 2 minutes, sir. Opening remarks.
Yes, I am Rodney Upton. I'm running for Georgia House District 114. This is my second time running. I got 41% of the vote the last time I ran in a very heavily Democratic district where the projection was 25%. And I got 41. I was very proud of that, and I ran the same way that I'm running now, as a Christian, a constitutionalist, as a Republican. I'm married, been married for 14 years to my lovely wife, Lorraine, who's here today. I have 6 children. I'm delighted to be the father of this many kids. I tell people that I'm pro-life, and I prove it by the size of my family. The things that I'm committed to as far as wanting to be your state representative, and the reason that I'm running is because I'm pro-gun, I'm pro-state, I'm pro-jobs, and I'm pro-life. And these are my commitments to you about things that I will fight for if you elect me. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you. We're going to move into our questions, gentlemen. Each of you will be given 1 minute apiece. All right, we're going to start with you, Mr. Kirby. First question, what specific qualifications, skills, and experience do you possess that would make you a good state representative?
When it comes to being your representative, this is about service and serving the public. No matter what office you're elected to, it's about being a public servant. I served on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I served as Vice Chairman for Economic Development. I served as the Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Walton Career Academy after being part of the team that started up the Walton Career Academy, going down to the CEC in Noonan for many years. Also was a graduate of the Leadership Walton program, served as Chairman or President of the Leadership Walton Alumni Association. When it comes to the biggest impact on the county, maybe the best thing I've done was being part of the launch team that started our church at the Grove. And we've reached out to from 40 families to over 400 members. It's all about you, not about me. It's what I can do for you and my service to you. And I've got a history and a track record where I have served the public, served the people here of Walton County and District 114. Thank you.
Mr. Kirby, thank you. Mr. Upton, 1 minute.
I'll be very brief. As far as my specific qualifications, I'm a citizen. I'm an average Joe. I'm a business owner, and I would bring real life experience to the legislature. That's number one. Number two, something that I think that the people of Walton County love, is I have a very healthy suspicion of government. I do not believe that government is the answer, but that government is the problem most of the time. When there are government problems, it's because government is the problem. That's the other thing. And the third is my commitment to show up, to let you know that I'm going to be there. I've knocked on 1,300 doors since, or over 1,300 now, since I had started my campaign. I will be around. My basic qualifications is that you'll be able to know me, you'll be able to see me. I'll always be there, and know that I'm just as committed to smaller government as you are. You know, it's very disappointing that we live in a time where there's been a huge economic downturn, and I will.
You'll get back with us, won't you? You know what, Mr. Upton, why don't you remain standing? We're going to let you start the next question. Mr. Upton, what is the one biggest challenge facing our state, and how would you address this issue if elected?
Perfect question. It leads me right on into from what I said last. During a time of an economic downturn, I look at what we can do governmentally. I look at it as an opportunity. It's sad that we have an economic downturn, but instead of looking for creative ways to bring in revenue through new taxation, we should be looking for ways to reduce the size of government. There are a whole lot of regulatory departments that I personally believe if they were defunded, businesses would grow better in the state of Georgia. And I think that we have an opportunity during a time of economic downturn when we can reduce the size of government instead of looking for creative ways to bring in revenue. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Mr. Kirby, what is the one biggest challenge facing our state, and how would you address this issue if elected?
Well, we're going to expand that really. There's two big challenges, and they're consistent. And that's economic development and education. And those two things go hand in hand. When it comes to economic development, we as a state, we're competing with Florida and Tennessee, two states without an income tax. Now, I'm a supporter of the fair tax on a national level, but I think it's time we start looking at serious tax reform in Georgia and elimination of an income tax where we can help compete with these states. We also got to compete with South Carolina, Alabama, and Louisiana. 3 states that actually just write checks for business to come to. Having our tax base right, doing the right things for business and getting regulations out of the way is going to be a big boom and a big part of what we're going to do to bring this economic development to Georgia. When it comes to education, for 20, 30 years now, you've heard politicians say, we're going to do something about education, and it hasn't changed. Unfortunately, we have too many people who still say, well, thank God for Alabama and Mississippi, so we're not 50th. Well, it's time we get past that joke. It's time we stand up and do the things like we did at the Career Academy, make education real, make education important to our students, and support our families in bringing education closer to home. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Mr. Kirby, we're going to let you start off the next one. What is the biggest factors that differentiate you from your opponent as far as the vision you have for the district and for Walton County in particular?
There's a couple of things. One is public service. I talked about the experience I have in public service and preparing for this job and preparing to represent you, because this is about representing you, being your advocate in the state government. When there's an issue that comes up, call your representative, let them handle that situation for you. Don't you deal with the bureaucrats in Atlanta. That's what you have a representative for, and that's what I'm there for. The other thing is, in the last 25 years, I've worked for 3 major manufacturing corporations dealing with every alphabet agency at the federal and state level, from OSHA to EPA at the federal level to EPD, and all of the groups down in DOT, down in Atlanta. Regulatory, burdensome business is horrible. We've got a EPD right now that's trying to make an end run around a bill the General Assembly passed, put in a regulation that's going to kill inert landfills. They're doing the same thing in Atlanta that EPA's been trying to do in Washington and stealing the cap and trade through regulatory action that they couldn't get passed through the Congress. We have the same thing going on in Atlanta, and I'm here to stop that kind of nonsense.
Sir, thank you. Mr. Upton, same question. Biggest factors that differentiate you from your opponent as far as the vision you have for the district of Walton County?
This is an opportunity that you could actually be mean to your opponent, but Tom and I run a very clean race, and I just wanted to point that out. Two things. Number one, I'm a business owner, and as a business owner, I think that more business owners ought to be involved in their legislature, because they can bring common sense about regulations that get in the way of business and defund these types of regulatory programs and regulatory departments that hurt business. And I think that's one issue. And the other issue is my absolute total opposition to the T-SPLOST. I'm completely opposed to it, and I know that there are a lot of people here who are not happy, wouldn't be happy with me being opposed to the T-SPLOST, but I'm doing it on principle. I do not believe you take government and feed it more money and expect problems that we have with regard to government to be fixed. You do not fix government by feeding it. You fix it by defunding it. Thank you.
We might as well keep going, because that's going to move us into our last question, which you just touched upon.
Yes.
So how do you support the T-Splost referendum?
I'm opposed.
Why or why not?
I'm opposed to it because we already, what it's going to do is take a problem that we already have. I think that we can fund our roads here in the state of Georgia by defunding a whole lot of other regulatory programs that I look at as being in the way of business here in the state of Georgia, and I have some experience with that myself. It took me 3 months to start a very non-prestigious business. I own a septic and plumbing company here in the state of Georgia. It took me 3 months to do that. In the state of Tennessee, because they don't have all these regulatory departments that I had to work through, it took me 3 days to do the same thing up there. So I have a business in Georgia that I have to meet a whole bunch of weird compliance with regard to my very non-prestigious business. In Tennessee, it took me 3 days, and I have a lot less people that I have to talk to that are in the way of business growth. Tennessee is a lot more business friendly, I would say, than Georgia is, and that's what I would bring to the table. We don't need to fund government anymore. That's my issue. So I'm against any new tax. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Representative Kirby, you have 1 minute to respond. Do you support the T-Splost referendum? Why or why not?
T-Splost, I'm surprised you had a question about that today, I really. Now, District 114 has parts of 4 counties. Rockdale County, I can tell you from campaigning now, there absolutely hates the T-Splost. Gwinnett County pretty much despises it. You get to Barrett County, and they're about 50-50. Here in Walton County, what do we talk about? We talk about the intersection 78 and 20 in Loganville and the twin one-ways, intersection of 78 and 81 there at the Kroger, that's been a disaster. Truck bypass here in Monroe, and just even out there today, you can see the need for that. When we talk about funding T-Splost locally and having local control here in the Northeast region, everybody sees a lot of benefit when they come to Walton County. Biggest opportunity I've got with it, if it's turned down in the Atlanta region and passed here, we're already at 1% sales tax increase above Gwinnett County. We're trying to push by local. If we go 2% higher, big ticket items and other things are going to start having some issue. I'm out of time, and we could have talked about T-Splost for long.
Well, you both still get a closing 1 minute, so if you want to pick back up, you're more than welcome. Mr. Upton, we are going to start with your closing remark. You have 1 minute, sir.
Right. The closing remark would be very simple. I would like for somebody to go into business with me, starting a diet program. I've lost 12 pounds during this campaign, going out knocking on doors, shaking hands, meeting folks. I've been working my tail off, and the reason for that is because this is my level of commitment to you. I want you to know that I would work for you twice as hard if you so elect me. You can go to my website, electupton.com, find out whether or not I'm truly worthy of your vote, and I hope you vote for me somewhere between now and July 31st. Thank you very much.
Well, sir, thank you, and you look great. Mr. Kirby.
Thank you, and I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this forum. It's always a pleasure and always one of the best forums we have the opportunity to speak at. When it comes to being your representative, it's about you. It's about representing you. When somebody's been out of work for 16 months and their WIA education is held up by a bureaucrat and they're trying to start a new career, or when somebody's trying to start a new job to support their family and the paperwork's been lost for almost a month, waiting to get that finalized so they can go back to work, or when somebody simply falls through the cracks of a department agency and needs somebody to pick them up. That's what your representative is there for. Those aren't hypothetical. Those are last 3 weeks during this campaign, real constituent issues that we've resolved and been fortunate to resolve them, and it's been my pleasure to serve the people, get those straightened out. It is about working for you. During this special election, I knocked on over 6,000 doors. We're going to get way over that in this one. It's out there meeting you, getting to know you. We appreciate your support. Your early vote are on July 31st. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, your candidates for District 114, State Representative. I will also invite you to either stay or sit with your families if you would like. We are now going to move, ladies and gentlemen, into our final